In the depths of a fiery dungeon, a yellow-haired guy is strutting across a bridge over a sea of lava, grinning like he just hit the jackpot. He's on a mission to defeat the legendary fire dragon and score some epic loot. With an evil smirk, he thinks to himself, "I'm finally gonna get those legendary items. This dragon doesn't stand a chance." He finally reaches the secret dungeon where the legendary dragon sleeps. But just as he's about to step inside, he spots something, or rather, someone, on the ground. A person is lying there, snoring away, right in the middle of this blazing inferno. The yellow-haired guy stops in his tracks and starts muttering to himself, "Who the heck is this idiot? And why is he napping in a place where even I, fully decked out in fire-resistant gear, am sweating bullets?" Of course, the sleeping guy is none other than our main hero, Hyunsung. The yellow-haired guy eyes the situation suspiciously, but soon shifts his gaze to the gear on our protagonist. All of Hyunsung's equipment is legendary grade or higher. Greed practically oozes out of the yellow-haired guy as he plots his next move. "Heh, this poor sap won't know what hit him," he thinks, an evil grin spreading across his face. He launches a sneak attack, aiming to take out our protagonist and claim his loot. But then, something unexpected happens. Hyunsung dodges the attack, while still asleep. The yellow-haired guy stares in disbelief. Wait, what? He dodged it? No way, he's got to be awake. But nope, Hyunsung is still snoozing like a baby, completely unaware of the attempted murder. Then, out of nowhere, a system message appears. Skill activated, sleepwalking. Suddenly, Hyunsung picks up his sword in his sleep and swings it at the yellow-haired guy, who barely blocks the attack. Before he can even catch his breath, a black chain appears, wrapping around his neck. He starts to say, "It's just a mere chain," but he never finishes the sentence. In the next instant, Hyunsung stabs him in the neck. The yellow-haired guy is left standing there, trying to process what just happened. But it's too late. A reaper appears before him, and the yellow-haired guy realizes he's done for. Well, that greedy bastard got what he deserved. So let's move on with the story. After receiving a fatal blow, the yellow-haired guy dies. Meanwhile, Hyunsung, still in dreamland, has no idea what just went down. He pulls out a blanket, lies back down on the dungeon floor, and goes right back to sleep. The story then shifts to the present day, where we see a guy, our protagonist, of course, frantically apologizing to his boss for being late to the office. We learn that he has a little sister who, due to an accident, can't walk on her own anymore. Hyunsung was late because he was waiting for her caretaker. After some shameless groveling, the boss smirks and says, all right, just go grab me some coffee and get to work." The scene shifts again, and we see Hyunsung finally arriving home, exhausted. He thanks his sister's caretaker, an older lady who apologizes for being late that morning and promises to come earlier tomorrow. Hyunsung walks her to the door, saying, "Please head home safely." Then we see his little sister, Hyuna, looking worried. "Brother, you were late again. You've been working overtime every day recently," she says. But Hyunsung brushes it off, saying everything's fine. He asks her what she did today. Hyuna smiles and replies, "I played games and read books on my tablet," and then giggles like a cute child. Hyunsung smiles back. "Okay, I'll be back after changing clothes," and heads to his room. But before he changes, we flash back 6 years ago. A family is driving down the road when their car collides with a truck that crossed the center line. Hyunsung and Hyuna's parents, sitting in the front, die on the spot. Hyuna survives but is left traumatized, blaming herself for the accident because she had begged their parents to go out for dinner that night. Back in the present, Hyuna is chatting and laughing with her brother, seemingly doing much better thanks to her doctor's recommendation to play a virtual reality game called IDEA. IDEA is a vast VR game that's even bigger than the real world. Although it's been out for over a year, it's still wildly popular. We then see that Hyunsung has also bought a VR capsule, But unlike most people, he's using it only for sleeping. Because 1 hour in the capsule is equal to 5 hours in real life, he can sleep for 20 to 25 hours a day if he wants. If this kind of capsule existed in real life, I'd totally want one too. Hyunsung lies down in the capsule and enters the world of idea. We see him standing on a cliff, but the scene quickly shifts again, and Hyunsung is entering a house. He heads straight to the bed, lies down, and starts sleeping. Because with great power comes great responsibility. Wait, what? I don't even know why I added that joke in the script, but yeah. On the next page, countless windows start popping up on the screen, filled with notifications and messages. But our boy is still sleeping. Brew, wake up already. Your life is about to change, and you're still snoozing like a Disney princess. In the next chapter, Hyunsung finally wakes up, groggy and all, only to see a status window pop up in front of him. He blinks a few times, rubs his eyes, and stares at it. His occupation has changed to a god-tier occupation. Our guy is so shocked he nearly falls out of bed. Wait, all I did was sleep and I got promoted to a god-tier occupation? He mutters. The title reads, Descendant of Thananos, God of Sleep and Death. He almost wonders if this is a dream within a dream. A few moments later, he checks his status window and realizes that his stats increased, just from sleeping. Later, we see Hyunsung in the kitchen, whipping up breakfast for his cute little sister, trying not to burn the food. After some household chores and helping his sister to the washroom, where she insists she can do it herself, the scene shifts to Hyunsung, handing his boss a resignation letter. With a dramatic flair, he says, "Let's not meet ever again," and walks out of the office like a movie star in the final scene. Next, we see Hyunsung entering a PC zone. You can say a gaming store, too. He chats with the owner, then lies down in a capsule, ready to dive back into the game. Inside the game, he's sitting on his in-game bed, reading up on the origin of Thanatos, the god of sleep and death. Ever since ancient times, Thanatos has been called the most cautious of all gods, he reads. A god who loves death, sleep, and a bit of mischief on the side. Later that evening, Hyunsung casually tells his sister, Hyuna, that he left the company and plans to make money through idea. It might sound rushed, but before he can finish, Hyuna interrupts. Really? Wow, you left the company to earn through idea? She gets so excited, she starts rapid-firing questions at him. Hyunsung, caught off guard, asks, "What's your level?" She proudly replies, 331. I'm in the top 100 of the official ranking. Hyunsung's jaw drops, but before he can say anything, Hyuna continues, I wanted to tell you, but you kept ignoring me. I earn a lot from idea. I even paid the medical expenses, Our boy, a mix of shocked and a bit annoyed, says, Can you tell me what else I've been missing? After some sibling chit-chat, we see Hyunsung back in the capsule, ready to enter the game again. He checks his status window one last time and decides it's time to start the tutorials. Hyunsung enters the tutorial area. The task? Choose a weapon and destroy some scarecrows. Easy enough, he thinks. He picks a beginner's sword and a scarecrow appears in front of him. With one swing, our boy cuts the scarecrow into 2 clean pieces. A window pops up saying he's cleared the quest and will receive his reward. Then more windows start popping up, and Hyunsung scratches his head, saying, What's this? Why are there so many messages popping up just for clearing one tutorial? Hyunsung then selects a beginner's village to start his journey. The scene shifts, and we're introduced to Dha Town. We see 2 gatekeepers chatting. One says, Damn it, why don't any foreigners ever come to our town? The other replies, Are you seriously asking that? But before they can continue, lightning strikes in front of the gate, and Hyunsung is suddenly teleported there. A bunch of villagers come running to see who just arrived, but when they see Hyunsung, they all look disappointed and start leaving, mumbling, What the hell, he's just a noob. Let's get back to work. Wasting no time, Hyunsung walks up to the gatekeepers and asks, "Sir, do you know where the monsters appear in this area?" One gatekeeper replies, "You'll see some acid slimes if you head straight that way, but I don't recommend going there. Novices can't easily hunt acid slimes." Our boy just says, "Thanks," and starts heading in that direction. The gatekeepers try to stop him, but Hyunsung waves them off, saying, "I'll see you soon." In the forest, a cute green slime appears in front of Hyunsung. With a quick dash, he defeats the little slime in one strike. A window pops up again. You received experience points. Later, we see Hyunsung back at the village asking the gatekeepers, "Do you guys know where the orc village is?" The gatekeepers are shocked and exchange glances. One says, "What the hell is he talking about?" The other adds, "You still look young. You can't give up on life so easily." Feeling a bit sorry for him, they get emotional and hand him some gold coins. Suddenly, a notification appears, and a window pops up. Our boy just got a new rare title called Begging King. Hyunsung reads it and sighs. "What the hell? I became a begging king now?" Then he shrugs and says, "Well, whatever. I never refuse money if I'm offered some." After thinking for a few minutes, Hyunsung decides he'll find the orc village all by himself. Eventually, he stumbles upon a huge footprint and says, "Looks like I came to the right place." Suddenly, two orcs appear behind him. Our boy pulls out his sword and dashes directly at the orcs. In the next moment, one orc is down, and Hyunsung lands behind the other in a classic superhero pose. With one more slash, the other orc is down too. Then we notice a whole bunch of orcs heading towards Hyunsung looking for a fight. But knowing our boy, they're in for a big surprise. Hyunsung whips out his sword and charges at the orcs like a one-man army. But just as things get intense, the scene suddenly shifts. Now we see two gatekeepers chilling at their post, when out of nowhere, Hyunsung appears, covered in orc guts. They freak out instantly. He casually asks, "Hey, where can I sell these orc pieces?" The gatekeepers are too stunned to speak, just staring at the mountain of orc bits. Hyunsung gives them a polite, "Thanks, guys," before we cut to him at the general store, nonchalantly selling the pile like he's haggling over vegetables. After selling the orc pieces, Hyunsung gets 150 gold coins and nearly jumps out of his boots with excitement. The moment he steps out of the store, he bursts into laughter and takes off running like he just won the lottery. The gatekeepers, still reeling from earlier, they got even more shocked after watching how fast he's running. Next, we see Hyunsung casually slaughtering a few more orcs and unlocking the item and skills store like it's no big deal. He buys some basic gear, but then, out of nowhere, he finds a legendary egg. He stares at it, completely clueless, wondering if it's for breakfast or something magical. Shrugging it off, he starts purchasing skills when, bam, an orc attacks. Without even breaking a sweat, Hyunsung knocks it out with one punch, like he's swatting a fly. As he continues, he somehow ends up with some decent skills, and then, surprise, he lands a legendary skill called Reaper's Chains. Now he's grinning like he's hit the jackpot twice in one day. Then we see a guy watching Hyunsung on a giant screen, probably thinking he's got everything under control. Suddenly, another guy bursts in and says, "Team leader, you really need to see this." The first guy, now rubbing his temples, mutters, "This is pure insanity. I never thought anyone could pull this off." After a moment, he tries to cheer himself up and says, "Okay, at least he's stuck with a bunch of useless skills." But as he's glued to the screen, he starts nervously praying, "Please, please don't let him get any attack skills." The second Hyunsung picks up the legendary Reaper's Chains skill. The guy's jaw practically hits the floor, eyes wide in utter shock, as if he just watched his worst nightmare unfold. The scene shifts, and we see Hyunsung wandering to find the Red Orc's village, trying to sniff out the boss for a fight. After what feels like forever, he finally stumbles upon the village. He takes few minutes to hatch a plan, and then decides to use the Siren Seduction skill. The orcs suddenly stop in their tracks, thinking, "Wait, Where did this hot mermaid come from? Just as they're getting all dreamy-eyed, Hyunsung steps out, and their fantasies come crashing down. Furious and feeling totally duped, they charge at him like a bunch of angry bulls. But before they can even get close, Hyunsung whips out his Reaper's Chains skill and wipes them all out in one epic move. Right after, the screen goes wild with a flood of level-up windows popping up, like he just hit the jackpot in a video game. In the next chapter, we find a lot of loot in front of Hyunsung. After enthusiastically scooping it all up, he discovers a map to a hidden dungeon. Naturally, being our intrepid hero, he immediately sets off on this new adventure, like a kid with a treasure map. Upon arriving at the hidden dungeon, Hyunsung sees a staircase leading down into the darkness. Without a second thought, he strides down the steps like he's about to explore the world's most exciting basement. As Hyunsung approaches the door to the hidden dungeon, he's practically buzzing with excitement, imagining all the legendary loot he's about to snag. This is gonna be epic, he thinks. Once inside, he encounters a green orc warrior. The orc, probably as surprised to see Hyunsung as he is to see the orc, Hyunsung whips out his sword and gets ready to duel. The orc swings his sword, but Hyunsung dodges effortlessly. Hyunsung, analyzing the orc's clumsy attempts like a chess grandmaster studying his opponent, sidesteps the attack and takes the orc down with minimal effort, barely breaking a sweat. The scene shifts, and we find Hyunsung having wiped out a horde of orcs. Only the boss and a few mini-bosses remain. Hyunsung's level is now a solid 30, and he's feeling pretty pleased with himself. He reaches the mini-boss's chamber, and as soon as he steps in, a bunch of mobs spawn. Behind them stands an orc shaman's vengeful spirit, looking like it just walked out of a really bad horror movie. Hyunsung calmly takes out the mobs one by one, as if he's just clearing out a bunch of overgrown weeds. He then stands in front of the shaman, thinking, "Just one left, huh? Easy peasy." With a dramatic leap, Hyunsung slices off the shaman's head and quips, "Well, that's one less headache. Now to loot and face the final boss. Hope he's ready for a show." Before Hyunsung enters the final boss room, we see the team manager and his crew watching him like he's a new reality TV star. The team leader mutters, "Has it really been a year since this game launched? Why are we all so worked up about a newbie?" Turns out, the Descendant of Thananos is no ordinary god class. Team leader Min Yura had just made up the story for it and didn't actually want anyone to get the class. No one expected a player to spend 10,000 hours in sleeping and get it. The scene shifts to Para Mountain, where a bunch of players are battling a giant with a single eye. Out of nowhere, the giant starts shooting yellow rays from its eye like it's trying to win a disco contest. The players dive and weave. Without wasting any time, the giant decides to play favorites and targets a blonde girl. He attacks with all his strength. But the girl, with the grace of someone who's clearly had enough, defends herself with her sword and snips off the giant's fingers. They fall to the ground looking like overcooked hot dogs. The giant, clearly having a tantrum, roars and gets ready for a big finish. Just then, a tiny mage girl shows up, channeling her inner Madara Uchiha with an attack. She uses Chibaku Tensei, but unfortunately, her chakra reserves are lower than her phone battery, and she collapses on the ground. Seeing their chance, the players all pounce on the giant, and they manage to take it down. When the giant falls, the loot piles up like a gold coins mountain. Later we got know that these players are members of the Hero Guild, which, including Hyuna, the sister of the main hero, consists of just 7 people. The scene shifts, and we see Hyunsung arriving at the main boss's chamber. Just as he's about to enter, a window pops up with a warning. Once you step inside, you can't log out or use teleportation scrolls. Ignoring the warning like it's a pop-up ad, Hyunsung strides into the dungeon. Inside, he sees a monster 5 times larger than a normal mini-boss, snoozing away. Hyunsung starts planning his attack, but the monster wakes up just as he's about to strike. Hyunsung charges forward to take him down, but suddenly his vision goes blurry. A window appears. The skill Thananos' narcolepsy has activated. You will be forced to fall asleep. Meanwhile, the team manager and crew are watching this unfold. The manager, thrilled at first, starts cheering, but his excitement quickly turns into confusion as he realizes Hyunsung is still fighting in his sleep, thanks to his sleepwalking skill. In just a few minutes, he manages to defeat the boss. Loot floods the room, but Hyunsung, exhausted, just lies down next to the pile of loot and falls asleep. One team member asks the manager why he isn't collecting the loot. The clever team leader smirks and says, "Well, once he's asleep, no player can collect loot, and if no one picks it up, it'll vanish soon." The team leader bursts into laughter, clearly enjoying the show. After that, we see Hyunsung sitting outside the capsule, feeling dejected and wondering what's wrong with the game. When Hyunsung calms himself down after being forcefully put to sleep, his phone rings with a call from his friend. In the next scene, we see them in a hotel, sipping on drinks. Hyunsung's friend Jaewon asks, "How's it going?" and jokes, "It's been ages. I almost thought you'd forgotten how to socialize." They're catching up over food and drinks, and Hyunsung says, "Yeah, I've been a bit busy." Jaewon, with a gentle smile, replied, "I understand." Jaewon then asks what Hyunsung is up to these days. Hyunsung replies, "I quit my job, and now I'm making money playing the idea game." Jaewon, eyebrows raised, asks, "So, you're a professional game player now? What's your rank?" Hyunsung says, "God rank." Jaewon looks impressed and then suggests that Hyunsung should become a YouTuber, saying he could make up to 10 million won. "Guys, you should also quickly subscribe to my channel so I can earn some money." Just kidding. After hearing about 10 million won, our boy agrees, and they sign the contract.